Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
All right, if it's got a name like Mack Daddy, that's got to be fun. I'm going to pull out my Mack Daddy wedge. Callaway has continued to improve the product, and once again, Russ, the wedge has got to be one of the most important clubs in the bag, huh?
Yeah, that was a great lead-in, Frank, because Mack Daddy has been a pretty big hit for us on the wedges. So
yeah.
That name, we have to give Phil Mickelson credit for that.
Yep.
So several years ago, we came up with a wedge that we kind of ground for him, and at the test center, he was so impressed with it, he said, "That's the Mack Daddy," and it stuck. So we stuck that on the wedge.
Yeah.
This is the new iteration of that wedge, and this is by far the best forged wedge that Roger Cleveland has done for us. He's worked for Callaway Golf for 17 years. Still very few people know that, but he does all our forgings and does all our wedges.
That's a man that knows something about wedges.
He does know a little bit about wedges.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've actually had his name on the product. So these are designed by Roger Cleveland. Two different finishes, a slate or a chrome, but they're very unique. The surface has been sandblasted and actually has cross milling.
That's amazing.
And according to Roger, when there is a grass or material in between the ball and the surface, it has a full 25% more spin than last year's forged wedges.
Wow.
So a huge improvement in the conforming age of wedges.
Right.
So they give it more of a non-conforming type of performance, still being conforming wedges. So
probably
really
a chance
unique.
of even someone like me spinning one back.
They and me. I've done some things with the tour ball around the green that I wasn't able to do before. So
yeah.
they do work. So they're offered in a 47 degree all the way up through a 64 in both a slate and a chrome finish. But Mack Daddy 2 by Roger Cleveland. These have been a big hit, and the first time that we've actually had his name on our product.
Talk briefly, because I don't think people totally understand, talk briefly about bounce on a wedge.
Bounce is kind of a complicated equation because it takes into effect two dynamics, the width of the sole and the angle of the sole. But the bounce is going to determine how the leading edge impacts the golf ball at contact.
And a lot of it has to do whether you're a picker or a digger.
Picker or a digger, your attack angle on the wedge, and
yeah.
essentially there's a couple of dynamics that come into but essentially for higher lofted wedges, you're going to want less bounce to pick it clean, and when you get into the sand, you're going to need bounce to help get the golf club underneath the ball without digging. So that's generally where your bounce comes into play.
And the great thing is Roger has already thought that through for you. It's the Mack Daddy wedge. It's brand new from Callaway. Check it out.